Hi, my name is TJ. My dad died of overdose on January 1st, 2011, and my mom is a recovering addict. God helped my mom, and now together we are here to help you. Now let's talk recovery. Here's your host, my mom, Susan Sexton-Wood.
Hi, and welcome to Let's Talk Recovery. I am your host, Susan Sexton-Wood. Today, our guest is Kelly Abrams. Kelly has actually been on the Let's Talk Recovery show previously, and she shared with us her testimony and kind of what took her to the addiction world and her recovery journey. And so I'm going to welcome her to the show. Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah. And that's an inside joke. And I'm gonna first ask her to share her testimony again for those of you that didn't hear Kelly's testimony and kind of what led her to the addiction world and the steps that you took to start your recovery journey.
Okay. Well, let's see. I started in my addiction. I must have been probably maybe 25, 23, something like that. My mom was, she worked like 2 or 3 jobs, so we didn't have a bunch of stability because she wasn't never there or anything like that. She just provided for the family, but always worked, so we didn't have any structure or anything like that, so we kind of, went crazy. Well, I had a couple of things happen, like sexual abuse, where I was molested and I didn't tell anybody about them. I just stuffed my feelings, and it led to me being a very big addict, which I don't know if that's possible, but I'd overdosed a few times. I've had to learn to walk. I've been to prison, jail. The last time I got sentenced to 5 years for dealing out of Henry County, and they sentenced me to a purposeful incarceration, which is a therapeutic community. It teaches you about criminal thinking, roadblocks. It's a very great program, which I learned a lot in there. But while I was in there, my mom had passed away, and she was my everything, my best friend. She would pick up all the pieces when I would, break down or go out on the street. She kept Elijah for me, and he's my little boy. He's 7. Well, when I was in prison, when she passed away, he went to CPS care because I didn't have anybody else to take him. And then I got out of prison, got a job, got a car, still in recovery, and I just got my little boy back December 20th. He's home for good. So I got him enrolled in school where I live. They transferred my probation to another county, and once I pay off my fees, then I will be on non-reporting.
Good.
So
what are some of the things that you did in prison that helped start building your recovery? Because when we look at recovery, recovery is a lifestyle change.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think that being sober and clean from drugs and alcohol is recovery, and there's a difference. We can take the substance away, which gives us a clean date, but if we're not working on changing our life, then we're not in recovery. And so what are things that you started to do while you were in prison to work on, you talked about the therapeutic
Mm-hmm.
community, but to change your thinking and that helped you look at goals in the future, like I don't want to be that person anymore? What kind of things did you do?
A lot of it was forgiveness of ourselves, myself, the things that I put my family through. Me and my mom actually worked out a whole bunch. I told her about the things that happened in the past when I was younger. Our families had to be very much involved in the program as well, like write letters, stating how they saw us in our addiction. There was elevator of change. It was 5 steps, like pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. And we worked a lot on those, which is pre-contemplation would be where people would tell you about your addiction, and you know, when we're in our addiction, we don't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. You know, I didn't have a problem, I thought. And then contemplation is, well, okay, well, I realize I have a problem. And stage one, there's 4 stages in the therapeutic community. Stage one is like changing your way of thinking to positive self-talk, and realizing that we had a problem and what we put our families through. I kept a journal of goals all the time, and I actually reached all those goals before I'd gotten out. We work on time management. I have a problem with time management now. But
we actually talked about that today.
Yes, we did. But let's see, what else did we do? It was just a very intense program. It took your emotions on a roller coaster. We're not used to feeling anything, and then now that I'm clean and sober, I have all these emotions, anger, and you know, I get sad. And before, we would just stuff our feelings and not have a care in the world. It's a lot different.
So how long have you been out of prison?
Since May of 2017.
Okay. And through that time, you have been, and you're going to relapse prevention, right?
Yep, at Meridian every Tuesday from 5 to 6.
Okay, so can you share what you're learning in that class?
It's kind of almost like the therapeutic community. Yesterday it was all about the 5 elevators of change, and she asked us what change we wanted to be, and I explained to her about what I just said, and she was like, that's actually what we're doing today. So it's kind of like a repeat, but I don't mind it because I get something out of it every time.
Right. And sometimes we need repetitive to make it stay with us. So you talked earlier about you just got custody back of your son last month. And so share, I know there's certain things that you had to do and put things in place before you could actually get custody of him back. So if you want to share just the steps that you took.
Well, I took a parenting class in the prison, which that helped tremendously, where I didn't have to do that outside. But I had to, I get drug screened. They just drug screened me at Unchained Praises today. I didn't know if you knew that. They caught me there, so I was like, come on in, make yourself at home. And they came in, and I get drug screened just randomly. They'll call my phone and just say, hey, you know, we're going to come and drug screen you. I had to get in. I had to have an assessment done at Meridian, and they said that I had my recovery under control, but DCS wouldn't go for it because there's always something, you know, with DCS, so that's why they put me in that relapse prevention. It's like 1 hour a week for 10 weeks, and I'm about finished with that. But I go to meetings. I have to maintain meetings, pass my drug screens. Before I got Elijah back, I had supervised visits with one of the caseworkers that came in to oversee our visits. I had to maintain visits, not cancel, have really good visits, show my sobriety. I had to have a house, a job. I got a car because I don't have anybody really that's going to take me anywhere. So, and I have to be stable, like keep that apartment, not move around here and there. But it was mainly the drug screens that helped me get, because I passed them all, of course. And then probation, I'm doing very well on probation. So
what kind of meetings do you attend? Today, there's a lot of different groups that have meetings, and we hear about 12-step programs, and there's several meetings that are 12-step, whether it's NA or AA or Celebrate Recovery. There's, you know, quite a few of those now. What kind of meetings do you attend?
I go to NA and AA. I like those very well. I never really was an alcoholic, but an addict is an addict. You know, I drank, but I'd use drugs more than, you know, drink to stuff my feelings, but an addict is an addict. So I've taken Celebrate Recovery before in prison, and then it's about all the other meetings that I've went to outside. It's just NA or AA.
And the 12, I know how you talked about AA and NA. I used to like to go to the AA meetings, but I like to work the 12 steps of NA because the 12 steps breaks it down, and it really, I felt and have continued to work through them and feel a relief after working on them. So have you worked the 12 steps?
I have. I started over, and I'm at step 5 again. So I like AA as well because there's a lot of older people that have a lot more years recovery and know about the how recovery works, and they've been there, and they know all of us starting out in recovery. They know they give good advice.
So a lot of times in recovery, we have to learn how to listen and think about things before we react. Can you share some of the emotions that you may have gone through, or things that you might be going through now that you have to remember, the class that you took in prison and the relapse prevention, where you've actually utilized the tools that you were learning, and it may be in the 12-step programs that you attend. Try to think about a situation that you've utilized the tools that you've learned in recovery.
Well, I'm getting ready to utilize the tools. January 24th will be a year since my mom had passed away. And I'm kind of nervous because it just seems like yesterday that she had died, and it doesn't seem like that it's been a year already. And I'm kind of nervous about, not about relapsing, but the emotions that I'm going to have. And me and Elijah, we talk about my mom a whole lot. When he was in foster care, he didn't open up about her, so they had him in therapy. He just shut down, but he opens up to me a whole lot. I think it's because, she was my mom, and he spent so much time with her, and those DCS didn't really know her that well. But he hasn't needed therapy since he's been home, so.
Can you share the tragedy of what happened to your mom?
So, she had gotten my little boy up at 7 o'clock to go to school. He was in kindergarten, and she tripped over a toy and either fell and hit her head, or she either had a heart attack. She fell over the toy and had a heart attack, or had a heart attack and fell over the toy, but she bumped her head. And he had thought, because I've asked him what happened, because I wasn't there, and he told me that she had fell, and he thought that she had just went to sleep. So he sat on the couch and then went to her, and her eyes was closed. So he picked up her phone, and he said he kept calling 911, but nobody would answer. And he held the phone in his hand until somebody called him back from 911. And when they did call him back, he was like, "My Nana fell, and I need some help." And he gave them the address to where they can come and get him, and they came and got him and my mom.
Since you've gotten custody back of him, does he see a therapist?
No, he did, but I think he was angry with everything, because everybody knows when he was 6 when it happened. Something like that is very, very traumatic on anybody, let alone him. And then I'm sitting in prison, and I can't really do nothing, So it was a mess, but, and then me being gone, yeah, he went through a whole bunch of therapy, but he wouldn't open up to her. He was real angry, and wouldn't listen to her, and told the therapist that he hated her. And so eventually they just quit taking him because it wasn't really doing any good. But then since I've gotten him back, we talk about my mom all the time. We just had a conversation about her last night. And I asked him, he told me last night that he had waited on 911 to call him back, because I didn't know that before. Mm-hmm. But we try to keep her spirit alive, so.
And then it sounds like that you're working on that together. And
grief and loss.
You believe in God, and you definitely pray about His guidance, and He'll definitely lead you in that. in your recovery. So you've got your son back, you work, you're a single mother, and I know right now you actually work for Unchained Praises just a few hours a week in the Richmond office. And as we sat and talked today, you brought up the passing of your mom, and the first thing you said is, I'm just going to stay in bed all day and I'm not going to go to work. And the more that we talked about that, I definitely encouraged you, you know, laying in bed all day and just thinking about that is not going to be a good ideal. And so we talked about some things to help you work through that. And one of them is for us to start working on a recovery plan.
Yeah.
You've built recovery, which is definitely a part of recovery plan. But doing a recovery plan helps you to have that contact weekly or bi-weekly, whichever, you know, was going to work best, but to talk about some of those things. Because me knowing you and working with you, you have a full week and you're usually in and out and going to meetings and taking him to school, and you know, it is just you. And I think this is a harder time just listening to you that your mom isn't here, and because you're doing a lot of it yourself. And then we start talking about time management because you're late a lot, but that comes with it comes with growth, and you know, we have to learn to change as our recovery starts changing. And really, it's not been a full month yet. Right. that you got custody back, and so a lot of different things are happening in your life, and sometimes we have to put it on paper. You know, we have to learn how to build a new structure, and I think the thing that I talked to you more about was, you know, time for yourself. What are you doing for yourself? And I'm still learning that, you know, myself, but I know it's important, even if I take an hour a week, that I have to just reflect and think and pray and do some soul searching myself. And so that's one of our goals, is to start working on a recovery plan for you to just continue to move forward, but have someone to talk to and rely on other people. And I think you struggle with that a little bit.
I do.
With someone saying, you know, I'm there for you, and I'll help with your son a little bit, or I can see that you definitely try to take on a lot, and sometimes that can be damaging. Trying to take on too much. I know I've seen a couple posts like, I'm tired, I want off work, but God's kind of answered that prayer because now
I was
have
off
help.
last night.
So what are some goals for the future for you?
Mine are, I would like to, girl, I want to be like you. I want to do one-on-one counseling. I want to get more involved in Unchained Praises to where, you know, I'm there more than one day a week. I want to, you know, I eventually want to be married. I eventually want, you know, to have a family, but I don't really foresee that right now.
Well, sometimes it takes us working on ourselves, and to have, I mean, them are doable goals.
Right.
The more that we work on ourselves, the better we can help someone else, and that's one huge thing with me. And I don't really want people to say I want to be like you, but
I'm so proud of you, and you inspire me so much.
And you can have that too, and you know, believing that you're good at communicating, and you have a heart to help people. And not everybody wants to come on TV and be put on Facebook and get up and events and share what God's done in their life. And I think the biggest part of what God started working through me is definitely for other people to start doing it too, but to stay connected with God and continue to build your relationship, because you have that in you. Like, you could definitely be good at working one-on-ones with people and encouraging them, and God's light shines through you. And so you could, just by watching me, you're probably seeing, you know, part of you that you want to do that too. And I think if we're not careful and we don't keep our relationship close with God, it could all fall apart. And so working on ourselves is big. And I definitely struggle with that sometimes. And that is what the board of directors for Unchained Praises is for me. You know, when I'm struggling, I call them.
Right.
And it's just about being honest about what I'm going through. And last year, I went through a phase where, and I can't explain it because I don't fully understand it, but that comes with more scientific stuff when it comes to depression and stuff. But to be honest about how I'm feeling and calling the board and, you know, this is what I'm going through and I don't understand it. And working through that the right way without going back to drinking and drugging, I actually have grown from that. And I think staying humble, you know, staying humble. And for you to say, you know, I am a single mother and I work as hard as I can to provide for my son. And it's okay to say, you know, can he come over for a couple hours because I just need to think.
Right.
You know, and I think when we don't take some time for us, then it's hard to take care of someone else. We get frustrated and we get tired because we're working. And so out of saying all of that, really try to concentrate on yourself and, you know, those goals by setting them, but working on yourself to build more of a structured plan. Because you've said it, you're kind of in and out, and you're always late, and
and always on the go,
and to build a structure and to really work on your recovery plan is going to help you with that.
Okay.
And that's kind of what God did with me. You know, He had me working on myself, and then after 2.5 years, I got custody of TJ back, and then I still working on myself, and He led me to start Unchained Praises, but it was almost 2 years before He had me doing one-on-ones and having office space. And so, you know, you're definitely in the right track because you are proud of your testimony and you're letting people know. And it doesn't matter to you that what others may think.
Right.
You're standing up and you're sharing what God's done in your life. And again, we need more of that. There's not enough people talking about the successes of recovery, but you hear a lot of the relapse and how, you know, people go back out to using and then they throw statistics out there and to show them that people do different things for their recovery.
Yeah, very much.
If someone is watching that may be fighting for custody of their child or children, what could you say to help them continue to move forward? Because you went through a lot. You're in prison and your mom passed away, and then he was put in foster care. So I know there's a lot of feelings that come with that. And you were probably in prison thinking about
never getting him back. What am I going to do?
And how he was feeling because he was used to your mom and then he was placed with someone else. So if you could share like some of the thinking that you had, some of your emotions, and just encourage them to keep moving forward.
I actually maintained a really good relationship with the foster family. Today, we go out and eat every Sunday. Love them people so much. I adore them. Elijah loves them. My advice is just don't give up. No matter what, just don't. It's you know, it gets rough. It's rough for, you know, me right now, but I'm just going to keep moving forward because the end result is absolutely amazing. I thought that I was never going to get my kid back because I always thought once he was in CPS, that was it, you know, all the horror stories. But just don't give up. Keep going. It is very well worth it.
I think one of the things that has definitely been a part of my own life is when our kids are taken away and we're in addiction, we've really never paid that much attention because we were so lost in addiction.
Yep. We
didn't watch like their laughter and their playing, and we didn't pay attention to some of the things that we should. And me thinking about that, there was one time right after I got TJ back, his laugh, and I thought, I have really never paid attention to his laugh and how much joy I felt from just experiencing that. Can you share, since you've had custody of him back, a couple things that have just stood out and you just stop and, you know, thank God for this is You know, it's your apartment. It's your, he's home. And so share a couple things.
Well, his nails grow super fast, and I never really never noticed that, but they grow all crooked, and he's very, he puts my, me first. He's always like, when he goes and get to the cabinet and gets something to eat, he brings me something too, and I don't ever remember him ever doing it, and if he did, I wasn't paying no attention to it, and it's kind of hurtful. Just little things, brushing his teeth. I don't really have to yell at him, because I remember yelling at him. It was like pulling teeth to get him to do anything. But it was because I wasn't paying attention to him. He wanted all the negative attention. He was getting in trouble. But now I just let him to do something once, and he does it. And he always tells me, I don't want the old mommy back. I like the new mommy. That's what he tells me. So.
And that's a feeling of accomplishment. I know I have older boys. And when I talk to TJ, there's a difference.
Yeah.
When we're in addiction, we're so consumed with the addiction that we become aggravated and mad and sad people. And we do lash out at that. And we definitely become a new person.
Yep.
And learn how to look at things with our eyes open, I think. And in addiction, we're living in a dark world. And so we're really not looking out of eyes that can see life for what it is. I
remember him always asking me to play with him. I'm like, oh, in a minute, and that minute never came. And now he's like, let's play Legos. I'm like, okay, let's do it. It's great.
That's good. Well, we want to thank you for coming back on Let's Talk Recovery and sharing with the viewers, what you're doing with your life and just being open to sharing your testimony. I know when God started this ministry, it was at first about my testimony, and that's kind of what started Unchained Praises, because I am a recovering addict, and I woke up next to my fiance dead of overdose, and I've experienced losing custody of my kids and working on getting them back and feeling the hopelessness and lost and depressed, and it just, it's a sad world in addiction. But what I see him doing in this ministry is it's not just about my testimony anymore. It's about the testimonies and how we can get out of that dark world and we can become different people and set goals. You're saying you have goals of what you want to do with your life. It's not about right now you're a server and you're blessed with that job and you love that you have a job, but with recovery, we look a little bit into the future to set goals and to keep changing. And we never did that in addiction. We didn't take the time I want to go to some classes and learn.
Right.
And, I want to help people. We were so used to taking from people. And so that's the bigger picture is helping other people because of the heartache that we caused ourselves. So I want to thank you for joining us on Let's Talk Recovery. And if you are struggling with addiction today, we want to encourage you to reach out to us. You can reach us on the Facebook page or give us a call. We can help guide your path in the journey of recovery, whether you need detox, inpatient treatment, or if you need just someone to talk to, someone to mentor, or do a one-on-one recovery plan. We thank you again for joining us and hope that you'll join us again on Let's Talk Recovery.